On the show today, we discuss dreaming of departed loved ones. We tell you what the backyard symbolizes. As always, we interpret the dreams you sent in during the week, and all the while taking your calls on 425-373-5527. Welcome to So You Think You're Awake. I'm Susan Pullen, and with me in the studio is Heidi Brooke.
Hello, everyone.
Michael's still on vacation and returns next week, but we do have some interviews and a couple of dream interpretations recorded from him in advance. Thanks to everyone who sent dreams in to RadioShow at dream-analysis.com or to us through the Facebook page. You can get our contact details and archives of all previous shows on dream-analysis.com. Please continue to send them in, as we always need them for the show. If you've had a recent dream or one that's stuck with you over the years, feel free to call us again on 425-373-5527. We do our best to get you the meanings and the answers. You can also call today with questions for Heidi. She can channel information from your guides or loved ones who've passed on. And also, I'm happy to field life coaching questions on how to get unstuck and move forward with your life and maybe take action on some of the things your dreams are encouraging you to do. So one last time, the number is 425-373-5527. Today's feature symbol is the backyard. So last week we covered what rooms in the house mean, what they symbolize in dreams. And this week we're going to step outside the house to continue our same look. So the most common symbol outside the house has to be the backyard. Dreams tend to comment on issues from way back in your past. And this makes your childhood home a common theme, a common dream location, and lets us know that the dream is talking about that time in your life when you lived in that house. The backyard doubly emphasizes this because anything that's behind us in a dream also signifies something in the past. So the backyard, being behind the house, tells us directly that the dream is about the past connected with that house. The backyard in health dreams can also be about the health of your colon. So you might be thinking this is a lovely topic to cover just before you head out to lunch. But if it comes up in your dreams, now's the time to reconsider what you're putting into your body. In these dreams, a cement garden path is often highlighted. With this, your higher self attempts to tell you that food is hanging around in your system for too long, which can cause a variety of health issues. If there's a shed in the backyard, the dream again focuses on the physical health of your colon. Is the shed dirty? Are there foods shown in the shed, in the garden? Cut these foods down or cut them out of your diet. Is there mold growing in the shed? This dream would be about candida, a yeast overgrowth in your system. So this will show up well in advance in your dream, well in advance of any physical symptoms you might notice. So now's the time to do something about it. Also, is there a slow-moving animal in the yard? The dream, again, warns you that you need to take something to speed up your elimination system. It may even show the food that's slowing down your system. So when your digestive system, your elimination system slows down, you can develop an intolerance to foods that otherwise wouldn't be harmful. But it's a bummer to have to cut foods out of our diet. So again, now's the time to listen to your dreams and to take some action on that. So now we have a featured dream from a listener called the Vedic Temple. And Heidi?
This dream is from Catherine. So she's saying she always ignored dream interpretations, thinking they had no validity, as experts had so wide a variance of opinion. That is until I heard your show. Your interpretations make sense. I was very, very ill for a long time and did not dream as I did not sleep. Now I dream, but rarely recall any of them. I am sending this one to you because I actually remembered it, and because I really feel that it has meaning and a message for me, which I can't quite get. Thank you. From Catherine.
So we have some notes from Michael interpreting this dream. And thank you, Catherine, for sending this in, and thank you for your kind words.
So her dream starts off. Her daughter spends a lot of time at a Vedic temple, which is very colorful and festive. In my dream, I went to visit her there and to find out how she was doing.
Okay, so the location of the temple straight off tells us this dream is about your higher purpose, your spiritual journey. It's attempting to lift you up, as any connection with your spiritual purpose or spiritual nature raises your vibration. And it has to, because your higher self is always operating at a higher vibration.
The temple in the dream appeared as a hilly, winding driveway, perhaps only 20 feet wide, with solid walls. No windows, a low ceiling, dimly lit, and with a dreary
sepia cast
to the entire atmosphere. Completely empty, with no decor, no color, and nothing on the walls, which I could tell used to be off-white.
So this tells us a lot. The winding driveway, having no windows, and especially the low ceiling and being dimly lit. To use your words, they paint a picture that you have a dreary, dim, and low view of spiritual matters. The winding driveway also emphasizes that you can't see where it's going, like you can't see where it's leading. And this viewpoint could be a result of your having been ill for so long, which would be very understandable. Whatever the cause, your higher self is addressing it now. So before going back to the dream, just notice the 20-foot wide driveway with solid walls, and I'm going to come back to that.
The floor was concrete with a rough, bumpy surface like the non-slip, sandy, sparkly preparation homeowners sometimes put on their outdoor stairs. I could see neither the beginning nor the end of the driveway because of the turns and hills that were impossible to see beyond. Kind of like the winding drives in a parking garage, but not circular.
So here the dream begins to improve the image, while at the same time giving a nod towards your digestive and elimination system issues. So the floor is concrete, so your spiritual foundation is solid. The sandy, sparkly, non-slip covering gives you a better footing with your spiritual approach. And all of this implies you have a foundation that will survive whatever life throws at it. So not seeing the beginning or the end of the driveway tells us that you're on the karmic path. And indeed, it's a little stronger message than that and says you've been stuck on the karmic path for a while. So a while in this context means more than one lifetime. And typically, I've seen this type of symbol in dreams where the dreamer is on their last necessary lifetime, and they've come here to pay off the last of their karmic debts. But while we're here doing that, we end up incurring more karma by slipping off our path. So in situations like that, in life review, then you might determine that you owe still those same debts or other debts, and you need another lifetime to address it. So it's in one of these lifetimes that you get this type of symbol. So spiritually, you know you've been on this path before, it didn't begin in this lifetime, and you fear it won't end either. But the very good news for you is that you can still make this lifetime your last necessary lifetime. So I'm talking about Earth incarnations here. Your development obviously continues after that.
In the beginning of the dream, I was standing at the front of a kitchen sink. The sink was freestanding, and I could tell that there was a very short counter, perhaps 2 feet, on either side of the sink, although the image and the entire dream was cloudy, looking at both an impression and material.
So here we come back to the digestive system and elimination system, specifically the kidneys. The two, because of the sink, the two counters on either side of the sink are interesting because it's pointed out that there are two of them. So counters symbolize what we're accountable for. It's like what's on the table for us. But counters are higher than tables, so it's especially emphasized. This is something we must strive towards. And the dreamer doesn't mention anything being on the counters, but in typical dream language, we're told that there are two of them, and that gives us the information that it's about you being a channel, that you're accountable for being a channel. So channels dreams are littered with the number 2. We've gone into the reasons why on some previous shows. So now I'm going to take you back to the 20-foot wide driveway with the solid walls. And right at the start, the dream points out that your spiritual path is through channeling, and that you brought this ability, this solid ability with you from the spirit world. That's the no windows referenced in the earlier part of the dream, to having the ability while still in the womb. The dreamer's channeling works through getting impressions from the non-material world. So really the message of this dream couldn't be more clear for you, the emphasis on your channeling ability.
And so the dream continues. I could see a wire sponge holder overflowing with pink and lime green colored sponges on the far side of the sink. I reached for one to clean something, but didn't take it. I didn't want to touch them because I thought they were unhygienic. There was an Indian woman in a sari standing immediately on the other side of the sink, but slightly to my left. She didn't seem to notice me. She had her head down, and I knew she was doing something. And while I couldn't see what, I assumed it was for food preparation.
So I love these symbols. Sponges are cleaning devices, plus they also soak up water. So this is telling you to soak up spirituality. So realize your spiritual nature through counseling others. And we get the counseling from the green and pink. So green is the color of the heart chakra, and pink represents unconditional love. And when we see them together in the dream, it's a strong symbol showing that you have a counseling ability. And counseling is, it uses female energy, and it requires us to have a non-judgmental and open heart. I don't know, there aren't many of us who could claim to have that. But in your dream, you're not reaching for your counseling ability. So the dream is telling you this will help you in reality, to reach for your counseling ability, get in touch with it and use it. And the Indian woman who doesn't seem to notice you tells us that you didn't get the attention from your mother that you felt you deserved. And it doesn't matter that she was busy. It's not about justifying it or excusing it. That gets in the way of our dealing with the feelings of that she didn't give you that attention. And the sponges tell you to use your own counseling ability to cleanse those issues around your mother, because the poor bond with your mother led to a poor bond with the earth, being in a physical body on the earth plane. And it's that poor bond that both allows you to retain a strong spiritual connection, like a foot in both worlds, and also trains you to become a counselor, because you see the world from the outside looking in. You don't feel like you're really fully a part of things. You're keeping some distance.
I went there to see how my daughter was doing since her father's death, which in this dimension was 21 years ago. In the dream, it had been more recent. I don't recall if or what my daughter answered, but I knew she was okay.
So I love how you talk about different dimensions here. And with that phrase, you're telling us that you're revealing some of your spiritual wisdom. So time is an illusion used on earth to push us, to give us some sense of urgency, and to allow us to heal. And it works very well for that. In spirit form, we're more aware that everything is really an ever-unfolding present, and everything is now. So knowing your daughter is okay on the spirit plane is worth a lot. It means that whatever she's going through here on the earth plane, she is where she needs to be. And even if she doesn't appear to be in a good place, she's really okay. And the same is true for you as well.
And then I put on roller skates, which I had with me, and began skating. Up and down I went, although hesitant at first because of the debris and bumpy and hilly surface of the floor. I only skated on part of the area rather than going on into the unseen parts of the drive that were beyond the curved and hilly road. I was stunned at how well I could skate on this odd surface. I hadn't skated for years and years, so I was elated that I could immediately skate well and far better than I ever had. I was hoping that my daughter had noticed that I could actually do something so well. While I was focused on the joy of my skating, I was also feeling guilty that I was thinking more about that and my elation than on my own daughter. Still, I went right on skating as it was the best I had ever felt about myself and wanted to keep that feeling.
So that's excellent. The skates are healing for your heart because of the wheels. And this shows us that the path to joy for you is through following your heart. That almost sounds like stupid in its simplicity, but many of us keep our hearts closed and try to find joy really logically, but it doesn't work that way. Opening up and dealing with those issues around your mom, that's the ticket for you. That's That's what's going to open this up for you. So here's where it's funny. I could just as easily say that developing and using your counseling skills to help others is the ticket, because it's through the female energy ability. So it's really like two sides of the same coin. Using that female energy to flow through, allowing it to flow through you, will help open up your heart. So, yeah.
I don't know where my daughter was during most of this dream. Although I went there initially to see her, she was somehow in the background and not very visible, although I knew she was there and hoped she was watching me.
So if we were talking face-to-face, we could ask you questions about your connection with your daughter. She doesn't actually appear in the dream, but she's the catalyst that gets you into the temple. And the dream is all about you, of course. And even if she were to show up, it would still be all about you. So, but you want her to see you happy. So if you turn that around, it's you who needs to see that you're happy, and let your desire be enough without needing to have it be seen.
I was myself in the dream, seeing through my eyes and not just observing myself from afar.
So when you successfully deal with the issues around your mother, you won't feel that disconnect that, we see that disconnect with like seeing things from afar. It's like we're separate, we're standing apart. But once you heal those issues with your mom, you'll still have your counseling abilities and your channeling abilities. So I left one piece until the end. None of what I've said here will be a surprise to you. You know you need to develop and use your channeling and counseling skills. You know where using them will lead, and you know where not using them will lead. I can say this to you because you pointed out the walls that used to be off-white at the start of the dream. And this tells me that you have a prophetic ability that you stopped using. So that prophetic ability, although not necessarily giving you this detail, will certainly have told you which path to joy is the path to joy and which path is not. So thank you so much for sending in your dream. It was a pleasure to interpret it. And we wish you a speedy and healthy recovery. Let's see. We have a caller. April, can you hear us?
Hi,
yes,
April.
Hi, Susan. Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for taking my call. I have a question about the dreams that I've been having. I've had babies showing up in my dreams a lot, and I know that they represent something I'm responsible for. I was wondering if my guides could illuminate what that responsibility is. Since they keep showing up, I wonder if I'm not on the right track.
When you say you dream about babies, are you dreaming that you're giving birth to babies, or that you suddenly in the dream have a baby to care for?
Most of the time I have a baby to care for. There was one night that I dreamt that I delivered my own baby. I dreamt about triplets. I just wondered what my guides might, what they're trying to tell me, I guess, about what I'm responsible for doing right now.
So the babies always are, it's a really positive thing to dream about, and especially giving birth. This is something new being developed, and the beginning of something very special, which a baby always symbolizes in a dream. Can you tell me if in the dream, are you feeling anxious about having to care for a baby?
No, not at all.
So you're feeling very good about having this baby in the dream?
Yeah, usually, or they're just there and I'm not, I'm not thinking very much one way or the other about them necessarily, but, I'm carrying them in my arms or...
So, and also the triplets represent the number 3 is commitment.
Commitment.
So commitment to this new goal. And so I'm just going to ask your guides now, what is that you're doing? Have you recently started a more spiritual path?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what they were saying is what it is. And being committed to getting off. Are you planning on getting off your karmic path? That's what I'm being told specifically. Are you
getting off my karmic path?
You're actively trying to alleviate your karma in this lifetime.
I guess so.
You are your guides are saying you are, and it's working, which is a good thing. Because it's interesting that we just are talking about this dream getting off the karmic path and this being your last necessary lifetime. And so the continuous dreams of having babies and doing that, it's you're having those dreams because your higher self is telling you that you are achieving this. This is your new baby, and to continue to nurture and develop that. through your spiritual work, your own spiritual work. So, you know, I'm being told that in the past it was merely like an interest that you had in metaphysical things, anything spiritual, and now you're actively involving yourself in it, that you're starting to channel, that you're starting to actually, and they're even saying that you have a lot of premonitions. And, you know, just feeding that and recognizing that is wholly healing to the world, and it's healing to you. And this is how you're going to alleviate your karma, is through helping other people using your spiritual gifts, and that is channeling.
Oh, that's awesome. I definitely don't know what I'm doing with channeling, or how the messages would come to me, or if I'd even know that I was getting channeling.
They're saying that you get it as a download, almost like you instantly know about the other person in a way.
Okay.
And you may have experienced that yet, but also to work on your clairvoyancy, because that is something that you have brought with you and you've always had. I don't know if you remember from childhood, but you were very clairvoyant when you were, at least they're showing me you as young as 3, actively. Wow. And being aware of being clairvoyant.
What should I do to open that up? Can they tell me that too?
To continue, one thing, listening to your dreams, and when they point out areas for you to work on, to do that.
Okay.
And to also to a lot of I'm seeing that you have difficulty with self-love, and to nurture yourself and give to yourself as much as you give to other people, because it's important for you to heal in order to help other people. And while you're loving yourself and working on yourself and getting over any negativities you have, you'll find that your world opens up more and more, and you're more accepting to hear messages and to be clairvoyant and to see the spirits. Oh. It's like it's raising your vibration. Literally, that's what you're doing by loving yourself and doing things for you.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And
thank you so much,
April. Can I just add one last thing, which is along with this dream being like a positive affirmation that you're on the right path, that giving birth to the baby, you're on the right path. Also, it sounds like you are maybe feeling overly responsible for developing yourself in the right direction.
That's true.
And I think that you can, this is a nice validation for you. So you can relax a little bit. Okay.
Enjoy the baby.
This is such a good note to end on, but I'm going to throw in one last question. I think last night I dreamt that I was trying to lock the door, and I was desperately trying to lock a door. To my guides, I don't remember anything else in the dream, and that seems like probably a good thing that I should be, a good message that I should be taking in somehow. Can my guides tell me what that was about?
Well, locking the door is generally about protecting ourselves, and that's not it. Usually, you wouldn't want to be locking the door in a dream. And so, if you do meditation, one of the things you can do is go back into the dream, and unlock the door.
Okay.
And I know it sounds funny, but it's actually a way of, we can make progress on multiple levels when we take action on one level. So,
did you achieve unlocking the door? Just a question.
Did I achieve locking it? I feel like I might have gotten it locked. I just vaguely remember desperately trying to do it. Like I was in a rush, and I can't remember anything else. That's kind of why I was hoping the guys would help out with that one. I have so little memory of that dream, but it's okay. It's
just from the dream alone, it indicates that you need to relax, and you're going fast enough. No need to rush.
Okay.
Yeah, but going back into the dream in meditation and unlocking the door, I think would have benefit for you on other levels. It sounds like it might be a silly, simple thing to do, but it actually can be powerful. We can make progress in the dream state that is very real progress. So,
okay.
And it goes back to that self-love as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll work on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, thanks for listening. We're going to take a quick break.
Have you had a puzzling dream, a nightmare, or a dream that has stayed with you since childhood? Michael Sheridan here. If you're a regular listener to my show, and I sincerely hope you are, you have a good idea of the valuable advice your dreams give on relationships, career, life purpose, and much more. but what you hear on the show just barely scratches the surface compared to what you get with a full analysis. Treat yourself by having your dream fully analysed. The recorded analysis you receive is typically 20 to 35 minutes long. Go to dream-analysis.com for more. There's even a discount for KKNW listeners, and you don't even have to tell me that I sent you.
Are you wondering about your path in life? Do you have the sense there's something you're here on earth to do, but you're not sure what that could be? Maybe you've had a major change in your life recently, and you're asking yourself, what's next for me? I'm Susan Pullen with True Radiance Healing Arts, and I believe that each of us comes to this lifetime for a reason. Not only do we come with a specific aim for our life, we also bring with us special gifts that help us to make our unique contribution. Now is the time for you to discover your gifts and your life purpose. Now is the time for you to realize your true radiance. Find me on the web at true-radiance.com.
Hello, this is Heidi. How can I help you?
You tell me. You're the psychic.
That's not how it works. I am a medium. I connect to your spirit guides and loved ones and pass on their messages to you.
So why did I call? Use the force, Heidi.
Look, I can get answers to any questions you ask. That's not a problem. They can be about anything: relationships, career, children, finances, anything.
Anything? Okay. What's my favorite color?
Dave, your mom says you're being childish.
For readings with Heidi, go to angelsontheline.com.
Alternative Talk 1150 is now being broadcast in digital quality on FM 98.9 HD3. So rejoice, you early adopters of technology.
Welcome back to So You Think You're Awake. This is Susan Pullen. I'm with Heidi Brooke, and we have a caller on the line. Nadia?
Hello, Nadia.
Hi.
Did you have a dream or a question for us?
I actually have two dreams. One is my mom's dream, and one is my dream.
All right.
And they're both pretty short. So here's my mom's dream. She had a dream that we were at her house, which is the house that I grew up in, and my ex-husband and I were walking through the front door, and she doesn't dream about him often, but when she does, it really upsets him. It's not that our divorce was particularly horrible, but it was emotionally taxing on her. So my ex-husband and I are walking through the front door and laughing, and she's very upset at the both of us because she's upset at him that he's come into the house, and she's upset at me for being with him and laughing and having a good time. And then I go upstairs to the second floor, and then he wants to go upstairs to the second floor, but she doesn't let him go, and then that's where the dream ends.
She doesn't let him go because she doesn't really want him in the house in the first place.
Right, yeah.
So let's see. And this is her house where she's living now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so I think this dream to me feels like it's asking her to lighten up and kind of rise above the situation of you and your ex-husband. Like, clearly she still has some feelings about your divorce and whatever happened there.
No, she does, even though it happened like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
She certainly does.
Yeah. So the going upstairs part is about moving up into our head, like taking a higher view above something. So that would be my take on the dream, that it's mirroring back to her that her energy is still bound up in being upset about what happened between you. And,
absolutely.
And so that being able to be more objective about it. So I would suggest maybe taking the situation, stripping it down to the facts of what happened and trying to take some of the emotion out of it for her.
Sure. That makes sense.
Okay.
She's also, God forbid she ever listens to this, she's also the kind of person who will hold on to something for 20 years and not let it go. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also think that the fact that she goes up the stairs and not he
You go up the stairs in the dream, right?
I go up the stairs.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm the one who goes up the stairs. She stays downstairs with him to block his path.
Okay.
So he's still in the house, like she's not keeping anything away, even though
Right.
I think she thinks she's rising above it, but she's not. So it's also pointing that out to her.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then my dream, it's a little interesting in that the thing that I'm most curious about, and I'll preface this before I tell the dream, is there's a staff, a wooden staff made out of ebony that appears in the dream. And, ebony is black, and I know black in dreams is always questionable. But so here it is. It's nighttime, and there's stars in the sky and a crescent moon, and I'm sitting next to a bonfire, and there's an eagle sitting to my right. I walk over to the bonfire and reach into it and pull out this staff that's about 6 feet long. And the staff is on fire, but it doesn't burn my hands. And then I go back and sit next to the eagle. And by the time I get back there, the fire on the staff has gone out. And it's black not because it was in the fire, but it's black because it's made of ebony. And even though that I'm holding the staff, it doesn't burn me or hurt at all. And then as soon as I return to sit down next to the eagle, the fire, like all the fires are out. The bonfire's gone, the fire on the staff is gone. And then I begin walking to the forest, but the eagle's sitting on my shoulder, on my right shoulder, as we're walking through. And the other interesting thing that I remember is that everything looks blue in the moonlight. The trees look blue, the grass looks blue, everything is blue. And then I place the staff on the ground, and it submerges into the earth, and then a white light emerges from the ground.
Wow, that's a really
Cool.
good dream.
There's a lot of stuff there.
And the blue tone, the blue color, what kind of quality blue is that?
It's kind of like a nighttime color. You know how you go out at night and stuff kind of looks blue? So I kind of like royal blue, not necessarily navy, but kind of like, it's hard to explain, nighttime blue.
Nighttime blue. Okay. Okay. And so Nadia, I get the sense from this dream you have a strong spiritual side.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do.
Yeah. And you're intuitive.
Yes.
Yep. And you have a prophetic ability, I'm thinking too.
Yes.
Yep.
And you're a healer.
Yes. I'm a quadruple winner, or whatever you want to call it.
Brilliant. So, the staff, does that have specific meaning for you?
The staff does. I mean, there's one. It is kind of prophetic, actually. There's one means of doing prophecy that I use that's based on an Old Norse tradition that involves a staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have several staffs at my house that I use. So, but they're all light colored. They're like made out of willow, or the other one's made out of maple. So they tend to be light colored staffs. I don't have any dark ones.
Yeah. So,
does that have any particular meaning for you, though?
Does the staff have any particular meaning?
Yeah,
ebony?
that particular one. What do you hold in that staff? What does it do for you? What do you feel it does?
Right, ebony itself, but my only association with ebony would be on the musical end of it, because ebony is used to make,
Music.
Clarinets and oboes and all those dark woodwind instruments, of which I don't play.
uh-huh.
But that would be my only association with that particular wood, is that it's often used for musical instruments. It has a musical quality to it.
Okay. So in the dream, you take this staff and you put it in the ground, and it sinks into the ground.
Yep.
So this is about grounding your prophetic ability so you can use it now. And do you have some fear about using your prophetic ability?
It's interesting that you say that. It's not that I have fear around it, but I tend to shy away from it, because as with any prophecy, it's like, or anything about the future, it's like, it's what could be. It's like, it's like the Scrooge thing. If you don't change what you're doing now, this is what could happen. That doesn't mean that it will happen, but that's what could happen.
Yeah. So my sense is that's what the black is about, is that, some hesitation there.
Mm-hmm.
And the ebony, I think, is twofold. One, it gives you the color black, but two, it's, are you a channel also? Well, the staff is used for channeling. It's used for connecting with spirit.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what that is too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the 6 foot, the staff is 6 feet long, which is a symbol for the Dharmic path.
Okay.
Which is a very good thing.
I know.
So
yes, it is.
it looks like you also have some digestive system symbols going on here. How's your digestive system?
It's sorting out. The dreams about the digestive system have gotten better. I mean, in the past, the dreams that I had a lot of mud in them and things like that, and those are sorting out more, and that's clearing up a lot more. Forests are becoming greener as opposed to browner, but it's still around.
Yeah. So I think you already know what that's about, but that's the forest is a nod to that. And actually the 6 foot staff could be a nod to that as well, because our colon is 6 feet long.
Oh, interesting.
And the blue, I think, is about like having a more optimistic, having a lighter view of your prophetic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think the dream as well is quite literally telling you that the black staff will help you ground yourself and it will eliminate your fears while you're using it. And I think, as well, if we could just look at you're putting your hands in the fire and you're not getting burned.
Mm-hmm.
Take that for what it is. Put your hands in the fire because you're not going to get burnt. Just do it. I love this dream because it has so many positive symbols. Even though the message is, don't be afraid. You are so gifted. Use them. Don't be afraid to use these gifts. You have so much to bring to the world. Yeah.
And the stars also are about looking up to it. These are your goals, your ideals. So
right.
Yeah. All right. Any
Super.
other questions for us, Nadia?
No, that was it. I was just hesitant because, anytime black shows up, you're like, okay, now what? But...
yeah. I feel ya. Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful show, ladies.
Thanks so much for calling.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So let's take another short break. You're listening to So You Think You're Awake.
Okay, listen up. This is important. Do you know your life purpose? Are you psychic? Do your dreams predict your future? Are you one of the X-Men? Your dreams give the answer to 3 of these questions. Find out which 3 by attending Michael Sheridan's Dream Workshop in Seattle on September 26th and 27th. Register at dream-analysis.com. St. John, New Brunswick, October 3rd and 4th.
Hello, this is Heidi. How can I help you?
You tell me. You're the psychic.
That's not how it works. I am a medium. I connect to your spirit guides and loved ones and pass on their messages to you.
So why did I call? Use the force, Heidi.
Look, I can get answers to any questions you ask. That's not a problem. They can be about anything. Relationships, career, children, finances, anything.
Anything? Okay. What's my favorite color?
Dave, your mom says you're being childish.
For readings with Heidi, go to angelsontheline.com.
Are you feeling stuck? Are you trapped in the same old patterns of negativity, fear, or self-doubt? I'm Susan Pullen with True Radiance Healing Arts, and I can help you to finally change those old patterns so you can move ahead at last. You may have already tried to change these patterns yourself, maybe with therapy, meditation, or sheer willpower. Certainly these can have benefits sometimes, but they don't always get to the root of what's holding you back. Now is the time for you to break free of the things that keep you stuck, so you can realize your true radiance. Find me on the web at true-radiance.com.
Clear, clean, and crisp. Check us out in digital quality sound on FM 98.9 HD3. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to So You Think You're Awake. I'm Susan Pullen. I'm in the studio with Heidi Brooke. And we wanted to spend some time today on dreams with departed loved ones and other people who've died who show up in our dreams. And we love it that we're getting calls today, and we would love to get more calls from you about dreams that you've had with people who've passed on. The number again is 425-373-5790. 5527. So we're also going to be posting on the website an interview that I did with Heidi and with Michael Sheridan on dreams with departed loved ones. That'll be on the site dream-analysis.com for a little more in-depth. But so I know when people have passed on, we're often anxious to see them, to get news of them. We want to know that they're okay. And so oftentimes when they show up in a dream for us, that can be a great relief. And Heidi, I'm imagining that a lot of the people who come to see you for a channeled reading are also interested in hearing messages from their loved ones.
Yes, they are. Even people that don't come specifically for to hear from their departed loved ones, they do always ask, is there any messages? And, a lot of the times when I am giving a reading to someone, I have spirits that are kind of hanging around, if you will, waiting because they know that client, that person is going to come visit me, and they can see that I'm a channel, and so they do use that gateway. I find it interesting in dreams when we see the passed on loved ones, and also when we suffer a loss. We want to dream, we want to sleep a lot, and that is because the veil in dream state is not there as it is in waking state, and we can communicate with our passed on loved ones, and it is a good bridge for us to get that fulfillment and closeness from people that we miss dearly. Yeah.
And so one of the things that that I've talked to Michael about is how in some dreams it's the person shows up in a more symbolic form. And in some dreams, it's like a memory of an actual visit with them. So when we're sleeping, our spirit is very busy.
Very busy. I think we do more when we're asleep than when we're awake.
Yeah, and so we do sometimes visit with our loved ones who have crossed over. And so part of the question is, like, how do we tell the difference between a dream that's a memory of an actual visit and an actual visit, and a dream where they're representing, or where they're representing something more symbolic, more metaphoric. And when someone shows up in a dream, and say I have a dream that I'm at a party and I see my friend, my family member who's died. I see them across the room, and they never come to talk to me. They're sitting on the other side of the room. They're talking to other people, but they never actually speak to me. That would be a dream where it's more symbolic. It's more about how that loss is still affecting me today. And because in the dream it's a social situation, it's going to be about how that loss is affecting me in social situations in particular. So the big clue there is that we don't have any direct interaction with them. We don't have any conversation with them.
Yeah, the dialogue is usually a big indicator, as you'll hear Michael say on the interview if you go to the archives after this. We communicate with them. We're not just staring at each other. We don't visit each other to stare at each other. Sometimes it's a hug, and just a closeness, a feeling of closeness. And usually you wake up and you know that you have just visited that person. You know that has happened. Sometimes you wake up and you hope that you did, and you kind of feel maybe you didn't. But yeah, the big clue there is the dialogue. That's what you're looking for. I know Michael was saying as well that one of the biggest places or most common places we see passed on loved ones in dreams is the living room. And that's because of the pun on you're to continue living. This is a living area. I'm passed on, but I'm visiting you in the living space.
Yeah, but you're meant to stay here.
Yes, which can be really hard for people, they think about not wanting to be here because somebody so close to them has been lost. And so these people come and visit them and remind them that your life is still worth living, and it is very much so.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so sometimes in a dream where it's the more metaphoric, about how we still have more dealing with that loss to do. Sometimes the colors of red and white will show up in a dream like that as well, because that combination is like a particularly healing and uplifting combination. It's hopeful, it gives us hope to keep going. One of the other things we discussed that I found interesting was the amount of time it takes. Like, Heidi, for you, if someone comes for a reading, the amount of time between when someone dies and when they can communicate with us, when they can visit us, and maybe when you can speak with them. Can you speak to that?
Yes. Actually, what I've noticed, and I've channeled on this, obviously, because this is my career, so I ask my guides, what is the time frame? And interestingly, it's 9 months, and I find that interesting because how long does it take for a baby to be brought into the world? It is a process. You have to get used to being on the other side, and sometimes communication will not be part of the healing process for that passed on loved one. Doesn't mean they're not going to visit. It's just guides say it's a rule of thumb. 9 months. They need to heal. You need to heal, and they also need to be, I'm not saying far away from the physical plane, but they need to learn to separate themselves with that. And that's why. And I do ask if people are specifically coming to me for to speak to their loved ones. I do ask how long, what's the time frame. And I'm not going to have a reading with someone who somebody has just passed away. I know that's very difficult for people to hear, but I'm not going to hear anything. Of course, I can talk to their guides, and we can talk and maybe get a message, but I'm not going to have direct contact, not all the time anyway.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we have a caller. We have Noreen on the line. Noreen, hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for your call. Do you have a question or a dream for us?
I do. I had a dream last night. The first part of my dream, I was sitting in a graduation ceremony, and I was one of the graduates, and I was sitting next to a guy, but we didn't have any cap and gowns on. We were just maybe more like a baccalaureate ceremony, something like that, because we were dressed up, but we didn't have caps and gowns on. And I was sitting there tearing up something that had writing on it, a piece of paper that had writing on it. I was tearing it in long strips and getting rid of it. And then I was sitting and leaning against this gentleman that was sitting next to me, like we were in some kind of a relationship, perhaps. But I don't have a face to the person. And then the second part of the dream was I was in a house that I didn't recognize, but there was a horse there. And the horse and I were having a conversation, and he wanted to go outside. So he trotted over to the door, and that's all I can remember.
So the horse was inside the house?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay, so graduation in a dream is a really positive symbol. It's saying that like you've reached, you're moving to the next level. And this is something, it's very hard for us to feel this, I think, in waking life in our body. It's very hard for us to see the progress that we've made, the spiritual progress. It's hard for us to give ourselves that acknowledgement. But this dream is giving you that validation that you've graduated from whatever personal spiritual work you may have been doing. You've gone to the next level.
Oh, cool.
So that part is very exciting, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's see. I know you, even when you tell us the dream, you try to kind of downplay it, like, it's we're not wearing caps and gowns. Okay, so it's like your outward attitude hasn't changed yet. Your visible identity may not have changed, but you've still received this degree.
And can I just ask as well, is the not wearing the cap? I would think that is a positive thing in a dream, because you're not limiting yourself with the cap. That's at least my understanding of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and certain, caps and gowns are often black, and of course it's great that you're not wearing black. So there's no problem with not wearing the cap and gown. It's just about like your outward, the way you present yourself to the world and your outward attitudes haven't changed yet.
Okay.
So, is there anything else you remember about the guy? You said you didn't have an image of his face, but anything else in particular?
The only other thing I remember about him, like I said, is like we were in some kind of relationship. He had a white shirt and black slacks on, and I had something white on. I just remember him putting his arm around me and comforting me as I was tearing up this, whatever it was that was on this piece of paper, and I was tearing it in strips and getting rid of it. And he just kept reassuring me that it was okay and everything was going to be okay.
And were you upset in the dream?
Yes, I was upset with whatever was on that piece of paper, but I don't know what was on the piece of paper.
And does that resonate with anything that's going on in waking life for you? Something that you may have read or seen on paper, in black and white, so to speak?
Not specifically. It might come to me later, but specifically right now I can't think of anything.
So
can't think of anything specific.
Okay. And, it'll probably come to you as soon as you hang up the phone with us. It's often how it works. So this man that you're in a relationship with, and he's comforting you, that's about like a connection with your male side, your masculine side, and that's going to include like confidence and creativity, uniqueness, individuality, feeling like you deserve to take up space on the earth, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the house with the horse. So do you let the horse go outside?
Yeah, I walk over to the door and let him out.
Great. So, so the horse can be about balance, because if you've ever ridden a horse, it takes a lot of balance to stay up there. Yes. So, and balance, by balance, that could be like life balance, or it could be like balanced sharing, like give and take, and being open with your feelings and also listening. Does that make sense for you?
Yes. Could it be balancing my male and female?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And let's see. And is there anything else specifically about the house?
No. It was kind of like it was a back porch, like a screened-in porch, only there weren't screens, there were windows on it. So it wasn't actually inside the house. I just remember there being lots and lots of windows and it being real bright and cheery.
So lots and lots of windows, that tells us that you have an intuitive ability, a psychic ability. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
And perhaps that's what, that I'm knowing it's there, but I'm not fostering it at this point. Kind of, sort of, but not. I'm getting to the point where I am becoming more willing to accept that reality.
And do you feel like you need to have like a piece of paper that, like a certificate or some kind of formal training, that validates that you can do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what tearing up the paper is about. It's saying, the dream is saying you've already achieved this, and you don't need a piece of paper to tell you that you can do it.
So rip that up.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
And so that's where the man fits in as well. Like you can have confidence in your intuitive ability and you don't need anyone else to tell you that you've got that.
Okay.
So let it go outside.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Noreen.
Thanks for your call.
Hi, Michael here. Through the magic of being able to edit the archives before posting them, here is the audio of the interview Susan referred to just a few minutes ago in the live show.
So today I thought we would talk about dreams with the departed, dreams with loved ones and other people who are dead who show up in our dreams. And I know that some people think that if they have a dream with someone who's died in it, that it's just like wish fulfillment or something because they miss them. And I think there are other reasons. So, Michael, maybe you would start by talking about the different reasons why people who are dead, people we know, might show up in a dream.
Well, we do, of course, if we do have a wish fulfillment, we will dream of people who've passed on. What you want to find out is, are you dreaming of somebody in a symbolic way, or are you actually remembering meeting them on the astral plane and it shows up in a dream? So what you're after here is the ones that it seem like a dream, but they're actually an encounter on the astral plane. And the easiest way to tell the difference is dialogue. There's always dialogue when you actually have met somebody. And it's ordinary dialogue.
Ordinary, like an everyday sort of a conversation.
Yes, it's not just like your dream is going on and your father's sitting in the corner for some reason, but you don't know why. It would be, if it was about your dad, you'd be talking to your dad and you'd be talking about the fact that you just got new glasses or whatever it happens to be. But it would be an ordinary conversation.
An ordinary conversation. And so I know that oftentimes on the show, we talk about, if you have an issue with a parent, something you need to work out from childhood, that's one of the reasons a parent can show up in a dream. So
Yes.
How would you sort that out?
There would be lots of symbols in that type of dream. So the way it can work is when we sleep, our soul leaves our body and we go to the astral plane, and we do have these encounters, whether we remember them or not. Only certain people can remember them. And if you have flying dreams, for instance, you're one of the people that can remember these encounters because that indicates an ability to project your mind. So you've brought with you from the spirit world this time around the ability to project your mind and remember what you do when you project it and bring that memory back. So if you're going to have a dream that's saying you need to cut the ties with your mom, there's going to be negative symbols in there that say this is how you're affected. There's going to be anger. There's going to be resentment, whatever vindictiveness, whatever emotion or whatever trait that the parent has that you've copied is going to show up in the dream in some way. Maybe some other person in the dream will have it, but it won't just be a dialogue. So they're quite easy to tell.
So in dreams where we have ordinary conversation with the person, that's a good sign that it's one where we're visiting with them on the astral plane.
Yes.
And Heidi, is there anything you'd like to add from your perspective as a channel?
Yeah, usually when people tell me that someone has passed on and they are actually looking for these dreams as well, where they have the passed on person in their dreams, it's usually their mother or very close relative. And one good way to know as well to distinguish between it being a dream with symbols and an actual event is that the person who's passed on is usually always in a sitting position. It's a very comforting, and they also have this strange glow about them, which also is pointing out that you're actually communicating with this person. And people usually wake up feeling really good too. I think that's probably the biggest indicator. If you wake up and you feel like you just had contact with them, you definitely had contact with them.
And so why would someone who has crossed over want to come and visit us during our dreams?
Why wouldn't they? It's like you've lived with them for many, many years of your life, and there's that bond of love. So they're going to be interested in what you're doing, and you're going to be interested in how they're getting on and where they are. It's really kind of funny that the veil is so thin. Like when you train yourself, you can have these encounters like Heidi channeling and so on, and talk to people who've passed on. But for a lot of people, it's almost like an end of world scenario. The person's moved on, they grieve over them. And that will, in fact, if you have a strong grief over the person who's moved on, that will very much colour the dreams or your memories. They won't, for instance, necessarily give you hugs or want to hold your hand. in what should have been a pleasant encounter, it won't necessarily be pleasant, because you're showing, by wanting to be with them too much, they have to pull back, because your desire can actually also get you to follow them onto the astral, into the spirit world, and they don't want that.
Is that seen in dreams when people dream about their passed on loved ones, and they talk about this distance between, like, mom was at the end of the bed and I couldn't seem to talk to her?
They keep the distance, absolutely. And those dreams quite often emphasize the living room, which is kind of funny, to show that they've come to the living room, and they're trying to emphasize you're still in the physical living space, so please stay there. It's not time for you yet to be with me.
And do people who have crossed over sometimes have a message for us that they want to give us in a dream? Do you see that as well?
No, I'm trying to think of one. It's usually all symbolic. That's probably a question for Heidi.
Well, I can only speak from with my clients and what I've experienced as well. I've only heard of that happening when, so you have a passed on relative, say dad or somebody very close to you, and then somebody else happens to pass away. Usually in that instance, the person who has been deceased for a longer time will come and visit, and it's almost like reassure you that they're with me and it's okay. And people do look for that as well. Are you with dad? Did you find your way? I have seen that. People have talked about that, and so I think in that regard, that's the message, that we're okay. I'm sure there are plenty of other messages, but I haven't come across it.
And it's also interesting, they're usually younger or healthier in the dreams, or both, in fact.
The way they appear in the dream.
Because they want to show that they're not suffering the physical ailments that they had possibly on the earth plane. People often talk about getting a warning, but I've never actually heard of that. And when I talk to the guides about it, it's like, that's one thing that they won't do. They don't want to interfere with your life, and as much as you can talk to your guides and ask your guides for advice and stuff, but the deceased passed on loved one might not necessarily be acting as your guide or a guardian angel, and so in that instance they can't even relay messages to you. Well, that's an interesting point, because they can sometimes, for people who are not aware of guides, they can act as an intermediary. And they can be asked
with
to
permission.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And so they can facilitate messages, but like you say, they're passing it on. So if you say, well, that's interesting, I have a question about that, they're like, oh, okay. I was just told to say trouble at mill.
So why would these people who many times we really very much want to see, why would they show up in our sleep? This sounds like a funny question, but why would they show up in our sleep rather than when we're awake? What makes it possible for us to see them when we're asleep?
Well, you get them when you're awake, don't you, Heidi? I mean, that's where you get most of your contact.
Yes, I get them, but I create that channel between myself and my guides facilitate that as well. Not everybody has that ability, of course, or if they do, they mightn't have refined it enough to know that that's actually what is happening. So that does happen, but I think we meet them on the astral planes because that is our point of reference, where we go to do a lot of our spiritual work while we're still in our body. And sleeping is a break from being in the physical body, and so it's one place that everybody meets.
It's everything we do in our sleep is because we have our guard down when we're asleep. So your dreams are going to show the real you, how you really feel about situations and about people, and how you really have been affected by a parent or by your boss. And they're also going to show, because your guard is down, if you have an ability to communicate with spirits, it's going to show up in your dreams that you've got that ability. Certainly it'll show up symbolically, but we do all the things that we block with our conscious mind, like communication with spirits, and we do it in our sleep. But we can do it all the time. We can do it all the time throughout the day. For me, I get a feeling about it, and I know, okay, my guides are trying to contact me. Or I don't always have to tune into the situation. If something is going on and I can get a sense from my guides that, okay, this is really important, so go this way or do this, something maybe I was thinking of just leaving there. So it doesn't have to be a physical or a a conversation, it can be a feeling that you get, and quite often they can pass on to you a feeling that this is important, or you just get a sense that the idea of just suddenly my mom popped into my head, that's kind of weird. And it's not weird. They're around you and they're doing that for a reason. And typically that would be around something that, they maybe was one of the things they used to do, and they're letting you know that that they are there. They're more than just, they're a thought away.
And so that brings me to my next question. What about dreams with people who are dead or ghosts, people that we don't know?
Okay, that's different. So we have a lot of aspects of ourselves that we are blissfully unaware of, and they can show up in our dreams to show, you've got extra talents. You might dream of somebody who's very confident and on a stage, and your work that you're going to be doing in the future requires you to be doing something on a stage and to overcome fears of doing that. So you can dream of that to say, look, you've got the potential to have this ability, or to have these traits. More than you have the potential, you're being encouraged to develop them.
So is that the only reason why we would see the people who are dead showing up in our dreams?
Well, you asked kind of two questions: people who are dead and people we don't know who they are. So we have aspects of ourselves that we don't know who they are. They're not dead, or we may be letting them die. If I have a healing ability, I might dream of somebody with skeleton hands, or if I don't share my feelings, I could dream of an ant dying. And might even be an ant that died. And symbolically, that's saying, look, you need to rejuvenate your heart. You need to breathe life into your feelings and express yourself. So we can have people for that reason, but then the other one of where it's somebody that they're definitely deceased and you're communicating with them, that's just simply letting you know that you have an ability to communicate with the deceased. Or, actually, they might never have even been on the earth plane, so deceased is a relative term.
And what about having a dream about someone that you know where they die in the dream, but they're actually awake in real life?
Alive in real life?
Yes.
That would be saying let the influence of them die. That's quite a common dream. Going to somebody's funeral. Usually it's a parent's, but it doesn't have to be. So if there's something you want to do in your life, say you were thinking about taking a fantastic career opportunity that's come up in Chicago, but your mom is elderly and living in Seattle, you could have a dream about her dying, and that would say, don't let her presence influence your decision. Do what you need to do and work life around that.
And what about a dream where you die in the dream?
That's kind of similar. It's saying you need to let some aspect of you die so that another aspect can come to the fore.
Do we also dream of that when we have actually done that? Like when we have given up that negative trait, can we dream about us dying? Or
if not usually, but if you're actually doing a therapy, then you can dream about it during the therapy, and that's a really good sign to say this is what is working. So,
Michael, any other thoughts about people that we know or people that we don't know showing up in dreams? Who are dying? What we don't know is kind of good because it's telling us there's more to life. There's more aspects to us. We have more traits and more skills rather than traits, more skills than we currently acknowledge within ourselves. And that's always good to find out, is this the sum total of me? No, you've got a lot more you can do. But as far as dreaming of people who have deceased, it's like Heidi said, it's very rewarding to have those memories. People sometimes, so they wake up and they feel like, oh, I thought Dad was back and he's not, and they can feel sad for a little while. But if you realize, if you keep working on that feeling of sadness, then you'll have fewer of the dreams, or at least you'll have fewer recall of those dreams. So you're better off enjoying the moment and then saying, okay, I hope it's not as long between that dream and the next dream I have of this person. So look forward to the next dream rather than looking back with sadness that they're gone again. So again, if I have a dream with, I have a dream that I'm at a party and someone that I know who's died, I see them across the room, but they never look at me. They never come over to talk to me. That would be different. That would be symbolic. That would be saying, so what is the trait about that person?
or are you affected by their loss? And it would say, because of the party, it affects you in social settings.
And Heidi, any other thoughts about dreams with people who've died?
Yes. So as I said, I get a lot of clients coming to me for the purpose of communicating with someone who's died. And one thing that always comes up is I want to dream about them. I haven't dreamt about them yet. And it's usually when the person who's just passed on, it's a very recent thing. And they talk about wanting to sleep all the time. And I think that's very relevant, because that's our higher self telling us, if you're a young mother and you had a young child that's died, you'll be in bed for a long time and you'll be trying to sleep. And that is trying to create that bond still between the person who's passed on and make a connection and allowing it to happen. So that's one reason why we actually feel like we want to sleep all the time when somebody has just recently passed away. And I think that's important to note.
Yeah, it is interesting, the length of time. If somebody dies suddenly, like say a car accident or something like that, their transition into the spirit world is much faster than if you die of a slow illness like cancer. And the amount of time then it takes because of that transition will impact how quickly that person will show up in spirit form in somebody's dreams. And it's also interesting, if somebody commits suicide, and by the nature of the work we do, we get a high percentage of people would want to contact somebody that they've lost that way. Because they may not have realized they were in so much stress and pain while they were here, and they just want to know that they're okay there. Those people tend to come back after the soonest I've ever seen is about 9 months, but 2 years is about typical. And when they come back, the colors, they will also be kind of symbolic, because we mix the astral encounter in with a real dream, and that's how we remember it. It's the only way we can remember it most of the time. And the colors they will wear will be red and white, and as a color combination, they put the wind back in your sails and give you permission. It's that person giving you permission to live life again, because it's not like they're living vicariously through you, but they don't want to have impacted your life and have you putting on the brakes because of them. So they will constantly be coming around to you to encourage you, please, please, please live your life, live your life, live your life. And when you do, that's a huge burden off them.
And just on that, I've had a couple of clients who a loved one passed on because of suicide, and they want me to connect with them, and I've actually never had permission to do so. It's again because it's usually very recent in their passing, and I can connect and get a sense of them, but I'm not allowed to give messages for those people, and they say that you have to wait, and that's what I tell my clients is we have to wait to make that connection. So
yeah, and for the spirit that commits suicide, when they get to the other side, it doesn't alleviate anything. They still have all the feelings, all the frustrations that they had. So they're it can take them a while really to get the help they need on the other side. They get it straight away, but it can take them a while to get through it. Just like as if they had worked on the issue here. It's not an instant sudden fix, because you don't suddenly get smarter because you're on the spirit plane, but your perspective can widen, but you still need help, and you still need to ask for the help. So that's one of the reasons we can't get to them so fast.
Because they're in the midst of that healing process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and they need healing as much as the people that are here as well. And I think it creates that, it allows them the healing time and healing space, instead of going, if they were to make contact, this is what the guides say, if they were to make contact immediately with the people that they had just left, it's a really confusing time for them too. And
they would connect with the pain that they've left behind, and they don't want that. Whereas if you die in a car crash, it's completely different. It's like you get to the other side and you go, oh, it's over? How did I do? And it's a very quick transition because there's no, it's our mental state is really what counts. So if I die a slow illness, even though I have no physical body, I hang on to all the issues that are associated and the symptoms that are associated with my illness for quite a while, until I eventually I don't need to be holding on to that. And they have hospitals and everything on the other side to help you make the transition and gradually get to the idea that it's not the way it was here on the physical plane. And that's not silly, really. I mean, it's because of our limited belief systems and our blocks, our own erected blocks, that we come to the physical plane in the first place. So it's not surprising that we have that difficulty to just change our mind on that side too.
Yeah, and we get very attached to things while we're here, including the physical experience and even illness. So yeah, it's not surprising. So Heidi, what about dreams with children who have died?
This is something that I come across a lot. I have a lot of clients that are wanting to, as I said, establish contact with a deceased loved one and I seem to get a lot of clients whose children have passed away either 5 years ago or very recently. And the interesting thing about that is the spirit of the child that has died hangs around me for a long time before the reading even occurs, and I go, oh, you're Maria. Your daughter's been waiting to talk to you for a while. And the children say that they show up in the dreams, in many different dreams, and they try and establish communication, but it's difficult for the parents to realize that the child is actually still growing, even though they're in spirit, like their knowledge is expanding and stuff. And so they do try and come and tell them that I'm still here, I'm still learning, and I want to make contact with you. And it can be confusing for the parents because they don't always recognize that that's actually their child. And it's a lovely message to tell the parent, this is your child and she's visited you loads of times, and this was the instance and this is the instance, and watch the parent go, oh, I remember that.
And they usually are things they remember. It is interesting, though, you say that the spirit is hanging around you for a while before the client comes along. And that's, we talk about channeling a lot on the show, but channels stand out a mile to spirits, and they know, like, this is my telephone piece here, so, and they can hug it. So a channel has to learn how to develop the skill and block some spirits from keeping the connection and letting other ones through.
What's also interesting I find about that is that the spirit that's hanging around is usually in adult form. And right when we do start the reading with the client, it's like they kind of change form to look like a child in a way, and just to describe their appearance to the parents, almost as a comfort.
So they're better able to recognize them.
Yes, but their energy is always very light, like a child as well, which is, I think, just them portraying that this is who they are.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank
you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.